For me, Angie Hot and Flashy is the OG of mature beauty here on the YouTubes. She was the first beauty YouTuber I ever watched, and this was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, back when she only had like 100,000 subs. Yay for Angie, she's at 1.1. She looks amazing. She just celebrated her 60th birthday, and I thought it'd be a great time to try her face lifting makeup techniques. The first thing Angie starts off with is concealer, and I do have the Lancome Tint Idole Ultra Wear Concealer. I also love this concealer, and I do have Angie's BK Beauty Concealer Brush. This is the A506. I reviewed her entire brush set. If you didn't see that video and you're thinking about buying her brushes, watch that first. I will list it down below in the description. Spoiler alert, this is the only brush I thought was worthy of anything out of the entire set. So let's do what Angie did, which is have one suboptimal, which I love because she keeps referring to it as the don't side, and really, you know, that's what it is. Don't do this if you want to look your best, right? So I'm trying to decide. I feel like, let me just take a look here. I feel like my left side is the one that's already at a disadvantage over my right. And I'm just saying that because I've got a mirror right here, I've got my 10X, and this hooded lid, this lid really does rest on my lashes more so today than this lid is. So let's make this, my left side, the uplifted side, and let's make the right side the don't side, because the left side today is the one that needs the most help. So the first thing, like I said, she talks about concealer. And between you and me, if I'm not shooting, and even 9 times out of 10 when I am shooting, I don't use concealer. I can't be bothered. I did review Angie's no crease concealer method. I will also link that down below and at the end of this video. I'll make that one at the end of the video. Spoiler alert there, yeah, I liked her method, but even doing that, right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't bother with concealer 99 out of 100 days. Let's give it a try. Like I said, she said on her don't side to put it all the way underneath and then take it up to your lower lash line. So let me grab my 10X here and let's just do that. And I'm just, oh goodness sakes, what a freaking mess, right? That is just way too much concealer. That's going to be really easy to make this the don't side. Okay, now on Angie, you could really see it did highlight her eye bag. And for me, what I'm seeing is all that product down there is just accentuating lines, accentuating wrinkles, and really doing the skin down there no favor whatsoever. So let's try the uplifted side, which is just a little bit in the corner. And I am going to try so hard to just get a little bit. She used the doe foot, and I'm going to try that. Normally I have a little teeny tiny brush, concealer brush that I use, but oop, okay, just the littlest one. And then she did a line lifting up her eye. That is not something I have ever tried before, so I am curious to see how this is going to work out. And because I think there's still a little bit of product, let me see if I can't get some of the product that's already on there off this brush before I use it. All right, I think I've gotten any product that was left on there off. I need to switch to a non-magnifying mirror. So here we go. I'm going to use, this is one of the palettes I'm going to be using in just a minute, so I'm going to use this one. And I am just tapping out that, and I'm mostly going to do inner corner and just bring it down. That would be the concealer there that I put in the corner of my eye. I really don't want it anywhere near my lower lash line. And yes, that does feel much better lifted on this side than on this side. And she goes into setting it immediately, which, having used her concealer method, yes, this is important. So she uses the e.l.f. blush brush, and that's what I have as well. I do not have that NYX powder. I am using a Wet n Wild Photo Focus. So just a good drugstore powder, very finely milled. I get some on there and then I'm tapping it off. And she emphasizes not pressing it in towards the nose, but out towards the edge of the face. So I'm going to do my best to do that. And you can see here on the right side, my right side, the don't side, all that concealer surprises nobody. It has settled very much into those wrinkles down there. So that's what the difference in the concealer looks like. All right, so let's move to eyeshadow. And this is an area that can make such a huge difference. On the don't side, I have a flat shader brush from Luxie, I believe it is. Yes, Luxie. Must have been in the subscription box. And this is the Tartelette palette. This is an all matte palette. I found it in my stash. I've never used it. And the shade down here, Supermom, is the lightest shade. And so I'm going to do that. You know what? I didn't do shadow primer. Let me fix that. I have the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. Now that I have both eyelids primed, I'm going to go in with Supermom, this lightest matte shade here. And I'm going to do that from my lash line all the way up to my brow. For the uplifted side, I think the shade Free Spirit here is going to be one that is closest to my skin tone. And I'm going to do that along the movable part of my lid and underneath my brow bone. And I do see where on the don't side, it really is bringing that forward, especially the upper part of my eyelid between the crease and my brow. And that's already where I have a lot of real estate. So I don't really want to be kind of advertising that. And I do feel like, yes, the uplifted side is just a little more mellow about it. My all-time favorite desert island brush for crease is the MAC 221. That's what I'm going to use. And I am going to go into Natural Beauty. For my skin tone, it's a good mid-brown. And on the don't side, I am going to go right into my actual crease. And yes, when I open my eye, you can sort of tell that there's some shadow there, but not really. It mostly gets swallowed up by my eyelid. On the uplifted side, we're going to take that exact same color, exact same brush, and we're going to go up above where my actual crease is to create a crease. And if you notice, most of the color is going on the outside, but I am bringing a little bit of it in towards the center of my face. And there we go. So eyes closed and open. You can see where that left side really, it feels like it's opening my eye up. My eye looks bigger. I look more awake. I'm just going to take what's still on the brush and work this area right here a bit. Like Angie, I am finding that that's an area that is now benefiting from a little color, a little definition. And I've got a big fluffy rougher brush that I'm going to use. I'm just going to blend that. Okay, moving on to the darker shade, and I do have Angie's A504 brush. This is a very similar shape to that MAC 221 that I love, but this is shorter bristles, a little stiffer, is good for kind of more precision placement of color. And let's do Bombshell, this darker brown out here. Not the darkest brown, but a dark brown. And on the drag down side, let's just put it out here, kind of the outer quarter of the actual movable part of my lid into the crease. And you can see, yep, a lot of it disappears and it just kind of drags it down. On the uplifted side, I'm going to put a little tiny bit of it over the outer bit of where I was doing my crease, and then I'm just bringing it down at a bit of an angle to the lash line with a much lighter hand. And that is going to need some blending. Let's take that same rougher brush. Okay, if I'm honest, I feel like on this side it has completely just disappeared. I mean, you can see it on the outer corner, but down at my lash line, gone. For me personally, when you've seen me do like a Get Ready With Me or an eyeshadow palette demo, I've got a flat shader brush from Morphe that I absolutely love for doing this. So it is a different technique for me to not use that brush. I'm going to try to do it with this Angie brush. I really am just trying to work it really into the lash line. And yes, you can see, I think I've gotten a little bit better there, although it needs blending. Next, Angie moves into a shimmer. So we will take the flip side of that Luxie brush, and I am moving to the ColourPop That's Taupe palette. And I think I will go in with Snake Eyes, this shade right in the center. Problem is, no mirror on the ColourPop. Start right in the center and tap that shadow in on the movable part of my lid between the crease color and the darker color on the outside. I'm going to flip that blush around, and on the don't side, I'm going to go into this very pale pink Caregiver. And remember, this Tarte palette is all mattes. So it's interesting where that light color and the shimmer both bring the eye forward, how it's working and playing with the rest of the eye makeup does give the effect of closing down the right eye and opening up the left eye. Angie then moves into eyeliner, and she does a liquid eyeliner and she's got a wing stamp. I have used those wing stamps before. Can I just say, my eye shape is not conducive to doing a wing. I have been to several makeup counters and asked them to do me a wing, and I have never had anybody successfully give me a wing that I was happy with, so I just don't do them. My eye shape, the way my eyes slope, that does not work. However, I do want to try something that she talked about. So I will not be using liquid eyeliner. I do have my go-to, the CoverGirl Exhibitionist 24-hour pencil, and this is in the dark gray. I'm quite sure that's not its official title, but charcoal. I was going to say, I think I've almost sharpened that part off. So on the don't side, what I'm going to do is line above my lashes the whole way. And for the purposes of this video, I will show you what happens when I try to do a wing. So traditionally you take the line from the lower lash line and bring it up. You can see it really, really wears it down. Now I am very curious to try this next part because Angie uses liquid liner. She goes above the lashes. I always tight line. I go below the lashes in the waterline. But she starts where her lashes start, and then she used that stamp and was like going along her lash line and made a 90-degree turn. So I'm gonna try doing that with my eyeliner. And yeah, it looked, to me at least, it looked totally crazy on her when she did it. But like she pointed out, once she got all her mascara and everything done, it just looked lifted. So I'm gonna try it. The next thing she talks about is lower lashes. On the don't side, just go ahead, use a dark color and line right underneath that lower lash line. Yeah, that just completely shuts down that eye. Now I was confused because on her uplifted side, she kept talking about tight lining, but it didn't look to me like she was tight lining. And when I talk about tight lining, I talk about going between my lashes and my eyeball in the waterline. And to me, it looked like she was working it really close, as far into the lash line as she could, but it still looked to me like she was approaching it from the underside of her lower lashes. So that's what I'm gonna try. And this is Marc Jacobs, which of course he got out of makeup during the pandemic. She talks about using a kind of lilac shade available from Sephora. And this is a similar sort of light, slightly metallic lavender shade. Oh, and I'm also only going about 2/3 of the way across. So yes, definitely more uplifted, more open, closed down, dragged down. And she finishes off with mascara, the Lancome Lash Idol, also one of my favorite mascaras. And as she mentions, there really isn't much to do with a mascara that opens the eyes. I mean, Kris, besides actually using mascara, but she talks about maybe, you know, just building it up a little bit more on the outer edge. Oops. And, you know, not just stabbing yourself in the inner eye with the end of the mascara wand. Pro tip, let that dry and then it's a lot easier to wipe off. So there we have the two eyes. I'm gonna say the one thing I was really surprised is that she did not curl her lashes on her uplifted side. In my opinion, curled lashes really make a huge difference, but I was sticking to her method. So yes, I do feel like our handicapped left side is looking much more uplifted than the right side. Moving on to brows, I am using a Sephora brow pencil, and on the don't side, she filled in from below. So I'm gonna kind of fill in my brows and fill them from below. And then she extended it really far down. You know, thankfully, brows are coming back down. They're not as big and bushy as they were a year or two ago. So for those of us with thinner brows, it sounds like we're going to have a lot easier time just going more with our more natural brow size. But let's use the brush here on the end of the cap. And now on the uplifted side, we are going to fill in and shade above the actual brow. So yes, I think that does definitely give us a more desirable effect, filling out the brow a bit, but lifting up the eyes on that side because I did a little bit of shading above my actual brow. The last step she does to lift that brow is take a NYX Wonder Pencil, and I've got one of those, and just go underneath the brow. And then she takes a BK Beauty. This is the 204 from BK Beauty. It's a smudger brush. And just, because it's a really waxy pencil, just kind of work it in. So yes, really lifted, nice pop, a good way to fool other people's eyes into thinking you're more lifted than you actually are. Now she moves on to kind of contour and bronzer. I feel like she just kind of smushes them together. She takes the BK Beauty, the 104. This is a huge, fluffy brush. I don't mind this for bronzer. I do not like it for contour. And she talks about, you know, you can squish the brush. Personally, I felt like she was just trying to hawk these brushes. So I have this IT brushes for Ulta. This is actually supposed to be a highlighter brush. No, I feel like that's like applying highlighter with a paint roller. So I'm going to take, this is from Catrice. This is the Professional Contouring. I like this shade. And on the don't side, I'm going into my actual hollow of my cheek, which as we get older, right, that's one of the places that actually naturally hollows out. And on the uplifted side, I'm actually going to go up on my cheekbone, much higher than the hollow. And you can see how much more lifted this side looks than this side. With that traditional contour placement, it really weighs down the face. I will take that BK Beauty 104 brush, and I'm going to be generous with it on the way down side and just kind of work it into the hairline on the uplifted side. And honestly, I don't know how much that is really actually showing up, but by only doing it up by the hairline, of course, it's kind of lifting that. It's making that part, the edge, recede, rounding out this part of the forehead. Oh yeah, and she actually curved it when she did it on her uplifted side. So let's grab a little bit more and let's curve it. And then she does her lower jawline. So on the don't side, we're just going underneath. And on the uplifted side, we're also going underneath. But I am starting to get a little jowl. I hate that word, but you know, it is what it is. It's just cheated up a little bit there. Honestly, I don't know how much good that did, but that's the concept behind that, is that you can cheat it up a little bit. And I am feeling like this whole thing just needs blending. Let's move on to blush. I have the Essence, the blush in 10 Befitting. This is just a nice kind of peachy coral warm shade. On the don't side, we're gonna do that traditional smile and hit the apples of our cheeks. The problem with that is when we stop smiling, that drops. So on the uplifted side, we're going to start farther back and of course much higher up above where we put that contour, and then just bring it down. I go like halfway through that kind of apple cheek area. And right, what a marked difference that is. Angie moves on to highlighter. I am using the Makeup by Mario highlighter, and I went and found the biggest fan brush I could find. She uses that really big fan brush. I just don't have one of those. So I'm gonna kind of, the traditional is right above the blush on the upper part of the cheekbone. So on the uplifted side, we're gonna start in that same spot, but when we get down to the cheek, she says to turn the brush vertically and kind of go over that apple area where we didn't actually put blush to give that some fullness and a youthful look. Also, it helps lift that inner corner of the cheek. As an extra step, she went back into the lifted side and put concealer out here, where she did when she originally put the concealer on. In my case here, I think less is more. I think I'd be flirting with danger if I put any more concealer on. All right, let's finish up with lips. On the don't side, Angie mentions, you know, sometimes the pigmentation in our lips seems to kind of spread and not be as crisp as it was when we were younger. And so on her don't side, she lines the lips at the edge of that kind of new edge versus on the uplifted side, lining it a little more inside where maybe traditionally the pigmentation stopped. And this is from BK Beauty, the Pink Lady liner. I did a review of all of these lip liners and the lipsticks from BK Beauty. I will put that in the description box below. Also on the don't side, Angie talks about lining around the outside edge versus just kind of coming to it. Okay, so that is the kind of outside edge of it being lined versus the inside edge and just having it kind of die into the corner of the mouth. For lipstick, I am going with the Wayne Goss lipstick in Carnation. And to further lift, I've got Wayne Goss's lip gloss in, which one is this one? This one's Petunia. And I've just done the center to kind of bring my lips out and make them look a little fuller. So let's see how this is gonna work. So for this side, definitely, I feel like my face looks heavier. It's not lifted. Honestly, it's not flattering. This side, where yes, I feel like these makeup techniques really did lift my face, give me that makeup facelift, gives me a more youthful look, gives me a look that I feel more confident in. So bravo to Angie. I think her techniques were definitely successful. As I mentioned before, you might be interested in watching my video reviewing her brushes if you're thinking about getting those. And if not, you might find a video in this playlist that you'd like to watch.